It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. On June 30th, the Pennsylvania legislators had an on-time budget for the state of Pennsylvania. They were on time, okay? However, it was vetoed by Governor Wolf. We're going to find out why it was vetoed. We have on the show today Representative Tarah Toohil from the 116th Pennsylvania Legislative District. Tarah, let me get right into this, okay? So the Pennsylvania legislation had an on-time budget on June 30th, okay? But before I ask you that question, when the voters voted for Wolf, there was information as to why you should vote for Wolf, okay, so to get rid of Tom Corbett, who I thought was a very honest governor. I'm not saying Tom Wolf is not, okay, however, but they also elected the Republicans in the state legislature, and they elected the senators.
Correct.
Okay, meaning that, to me, if I'm going to put the Republicans in control, would be that I like what they're doing. The fact that Wolf won was, I think, because of special interest, okay? He promised everything to the special interest group, and so they figured, well, we have to do it because we're being told to vote for him. That's only my opinion. Okay. So let's talk about the disaster that we now have in the state of Pennsylvania, okay, with this veto. And folks, a little later on, we're going to talk about, you remember he's talking about, let's get those gas companies, we're going to tax the crap out of them. We're going to tell you what happened with that situation. So what happened, Tarah?
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having me. Of course, I'm glad to be on the show and let the viewers know what's going on out there, to communicate to the constituents about what's going on with taxing people, not taxing people, and what we're working on in Harrisburg in the legislature. We have, for 5 years in a row now, passed an on-time budget where we did not have to tax any of our citizens.
Okay, so
it's important, no tax budget.
So it's important to understand, for the last 5 years, okay, you passed a budget, okay, in the state of Pennsylvania, and you had no tax increases. Okay?
Correct.
So now we're going to put up on the screen this governor veto on a budget which is the highest levels of education funding in Pennsylvania history. And when this goes on the screen, folks, I want you to take notice of the 2010 up to 2014-15. Now, take notice, folks, because you were told every time we had one of those politicians come on, they were telling us how Tom Wolf was cutting education.
Yeah, they said that Tom
Corbett was cutting education and had you believing that he was cutting education. Well, now those are the facts. Let's talk about that.
So it's important to look at that slide because there's so much rhetoric that goes on. Even when we're on the House floor, Republicans get up and say one thing, Democrats get up and say another. And that's not what people want. They don't want this partisanship. They just want the truth. And it's so easy in politics for people to just not tell the truth all the time. They say, oh, you cut education. And then we stand up with our chart and say, we didn't cut education. So this chart's important because it shows that every year since every year under the Corbett administration, every year since I've been in office, we have given more state funding than ever before in state history to education. And everybody agrees that our children are so important. Basic funding, the basic ed, K through 12, we want to fund that. So in this budget that just was vetoed, you could see the last pencil mark that goes up. That was the highest level than ever before. It was nearly $500 million more. And so there was $2 million in there for Hazleton Area School District. So right now, when you go ahead and just take a budget, you take the whole document and veto the whole thing, Hazleton Area School District isn't getting that money. And that's money that is $2 million more without a tax increase, without taking more out of the pockets of you, the viewers who are at home, not taking more out of the working people in our community through personal income tax, and not a daycare tax, not a diaper tax, all those different taxes that have been proposed. If your government can work for you without taking more away from you, that's really what we want to go with that model. So we are doing more with less, and it's important to do that. And even when we were just talking about on the federal level, you look at billions of dollars going to Iran and going to all these foreign countries. And we have people right here in America and right here in Pennsylvania that are impoverished, that need help. And we can help our community, we can help our state of Pennsylvania, and we don't have to take more away from the citizens to do that. So whenever your government says, we're going to tax this, we need to look at the implications of that tax.
So let's get back to what you said, because we're going to talk about this interesting here, okay? And I know I have the supporters of Wolf out there, you know, who voted for him and thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. He hasn't proved anything to me yet. Okay. However, I'd love to have him come on the show. And when he comes on the show, I play the show in all the different systems. We're in Harrisburg, Allentown,
Right.
so we give him great exposure. The thing that you're talking about is I don't know. Every time we mention the word accountability, okay, you have to be accountable for what you do. You're there. You expose yourself to your constituents, as well as Senator Udicek, who I think is doing a fabulous job.
He's excellent.
I like
Yes.
John very much, and he's a Democrat, and you're a Republican. It doesn't make any difference to me. He's accountable. He's always honest, etc. So are you up to this point. We're asking our politicians to be accountable. Well, when we asked Tom Corbett to be accountable, he was accountable, okay, and he lost. All right, I know it's like sour milk, Sammy. All right, get over it. He lost, okay? Honest from the day long, didn't have the personality
Right.
that, you know, these guys have. Now you have Wolf comes in with billions of dollars, millions of dollars, all this constituents. I'll promise you this. Now remember, the unions did not support him in the primary. They went with McCord. Then they
Right.
decided, well, we're in trouble now. We got to go to Wolf. Meanwhile, all you people who were doing your job were reelected. With that being said, why couldn't he do line item vetoes?
Right. So, and I think he's a really nice guy, the governor.
Oh,
I've
he's a
met with
personable
him.
guy. Yeah, very
he's very
nice.
personable.
Yeah, yeah.
And so a lot of people voted for him. And I think that Governor Corbett, our prior governor, he lost so many votes because he wasn't that personable guy. So he did a lot of things, you know, no taxes and on-time budgets, but that wasn't going to get him reelected. So a lot of the votes
So you have to be a schmoozer. You don't have to have, you know, the basics. You know, as long as hey, Sammy, how are you? He's an Atlas Senator. We vote for him.
Well,
No qualifications. I have a person say, well, I'm voting for Clinton because she's a female. Well, what the hell does that mean? Okay, if she qualifies, it's one thing. That's why we're in this mess, and that's why
Right.
people don't believe politicians anymore.
Right. And you had mentioned Mr. McCord. I mean, he was the treasurer of the state. He had to take a guilty plea, and there was crime involved and corruption. As we're taping this today, there's indictments and crime and corruption. And you want to get rid of all that old dirty corruption, and then at the same time you want the people who you have elected just to work together. So the Republican Senate, the Republican House, and our Democratic governor, we have to just put everything aside.
Will he though? I mean, I see the constituents on his back. This is, and I have no record of this, believe me. I just assume this. But let's talk about the senior citizens, okay, who are paying their school taxes, just got their
Right.
school tax bill, get their county bill. Some of them have to sell their homes. Some of them can't even afford prescriptions, et cetera, et cetera. And here again, they have no say. They have to believe you. They have to believe what the governor says. So if his budget goes through, will the seniors, the way Wolf wants it, will the seniors, okay, who get hurt by this budget?
Well, definitely, because the senior services, there were taxes on all of those items. So right now, you want to take these things separately. The on-time, no-tax budget, just get it passed. Disability services, human services, services for the blind, the disabled, people that are impoverished,
Could he have
foster
passed that?
children.
But could he have
He
passed
could have, yes. So
Okay.
he didn't have to veto the whole budget. And I think,
So-
you know, hopefully next year we're not going to go through this again. And the next 4 years, Governor Wolf is going to be in office. And hopefully we're going to be able to have a budget that just goes through instead of having now this crisis point that we're at where you have all of these human services in jeopardy of not getting their money.
The interesting thing is the fact that, you know, when he campaigned and about we're going to get, we have to give money to education because, again, to me it was falsely advertised that he made it look like Corbett wasn't giving the education.
That was a big thing.
But here's another thing.
Yes.
Okay, so here's another thing. Why isn't it then? Okay, why is it not possible for any union, any organization to be accountable? Now, when you look at the test, okay, in the state of Pennsylvania for students, okay, or in public education, and you look at the test in private education. Now, this is not me saying this.
Right.
These are facts, okay? These are facts. You see private education, like Catholic education, private education, MMIs, etc. You see the results up here, okay, versus the state.
But the state actually, there's just way too much testing altogether, the standardized testing. So the Catholic schools and the private schools, they don't have to do any of that. So they don't spend all their time teaching a test. And our teachers in the Hazleton Area School District and all the public schools, their hands are tied because the state, it's so much bureaucracy. They don't just let the teachers do their job.
I agree.
Like a principal and a vice principal, they're competent and they can tell when their employees aren't being a good teacher. And there's so many good teachers that are out there.
Tons of them.
So you have 99% of them are excellent teachers, and they shouldn't have to be just teaching this test. So we right now have a bill actually to delay the Keystone exams because it's just more testing. It's like testing on top of testing, and the Keystone exams are hurting a lot of children that get excellent grades, that are straight A students, that are unable to do these standardized tests. So, I mean, education, it's not fair when it comes to public and private, and that's something we need to deal with. But our schools, our school districts, in the plan that the governor had, he was looking to do, like we're all trying to get property tax relief for individuals.
Oh, I've heard that for years.
But the problem is with this plan that was kind of thrown together in the last 6 months is that all that sales tax and that personal income tax, a lot of that money was, the majority of that money was not going to come to us, and it was going to go to Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
So it wasn't going to help us here anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
Folks,
so that's that second slide that you have.
I'm going to have this. We're going to put the second flyer up, folks. Again, remember, folks, I'm talking about facts here, okay? Yeah, facts. We're not going to twist. We're not going to play games. We're not going to tell you what you want to hear like the politicians tell you, the bad politicians. So we have facts we have here, folks, okay? And we're going to tell you about this great tax. You know, he says, let's tax the gas companies because they're all bad people and we're going to tax them. They should be paying their fair share. I don't know how many times Secretary of Revenue, Dan User, was on my show to explain where the money goes and how much they were getting from the gas places, the jobs they were creating, okay? But the budget hasn't even been passed. We're going to tell you what happened so far. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7 SSPTV.com. My email, sam@ssptv.com. High definition now, folks. We're excited about it. Remember, all of our programs are on ssptv.com. Today, my guest, Representative Tarah Toohil, no stranger to the show, and we're talking about June 30th. Remember, they had an on-time budget. Governor Wolf decided to veto it. Everything, not just line items. He wanted to veto everything. And this is not pick on Governor Wolf Day, but we're talking about facts. And the interesting facts is how you were lied to last year when the gubernatorial race was there. We had a very honest governor, Tom Corbett, who everything he said he did, increased the education, was concerned about the Commonwealth, marketing was going up, everything was going up, but the special constituents said, we got to get rid of this guy. But they put all the Republicans back in. What? Let's see. So now we're talking about, put this up, Sammy, we're talking about a proposed increase for school funding. This is interesting, folks, how you're getting ripped off. It's amazing. Let's talk about this.
So one of the problems is in the budget that we did on June 30th, there was a ton of funding in there for Hazleton Area School District. So I was able to get into that budget more money than ever before for the Hazleton Area School District. So it was about $2 million more, which is a ton of money. Other school districts, based upon their need and based upon what they have to deal with in that community, not having as many students. Other school districts, the increase was $900,000 roughly for Berwick, as you could see on that slide. Crestwood was $434,000. So all those numbers are more. Nanacoke is $777,000 more. That's almost $1 million more. Northwest is a smaller amount. It's a smaller school district. It was $317,000 more.
So the Philadelphia School District would have seen a 32% increase.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we were doing was, on the bottom there, you can see what was vetoed.
Yeah.
In Governor Wolf's proposal, one of the biggest problems with that proposal was you were going to increase the sales tax,
Let's put that one up. Let's put that on because I want to get to that in a second. Put that up, Sammy. The Governor Wolf has big plans to expand state spending.
So you were going to increase sales tax and increase your personal income tax that comes out of your check.
Okay, so I asked you before, okay, I don't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay.
Because I want the senior citizens, okay, and those people who are paying school taxes and paying taxes to understand, okay, that, they will be affected by, they're going to have to pay more money. Right now, we're trying to give the seniors as much release, those poor people that worked all their lives, and I'm not running for office, so I'm not just saying this. They're my friends, okay? They worked all their lives, but they're lied to. They're lied to when it comes to elections.
And that's what you have to be careful about, because in 2009, when they did the expansion of gaming, the gaming and the casinos in Pennsylvania, everyone said you're going to get property tax, you're going to get property tax relief. Wow. So you have to be so careful. If we're going to do property tax relief and you're going to have to tax all these other areas to give people relief, you have to be very, very careful about it. So it's not something that you're just ramming through during a budget, and it's something that you want to make sure people really have relief, and especially our seniors and people on fixed incomes.
Keep this up, Sammy, okay? Let's look at the tax increase, folks, okay? Where you seniors were led, this nonsense. Nursing home care and in-home care for seniors taxed at 6.6%. Now, don't you think for one moment they're not going to pass that on to the seniors, or are they just going to?
No, it would definitely go to the consumer, unfortunately, and that's people that are out there that are trying to place their parents. Okay. I mean, people. Now
here, let's go to the women.
Go to the next
all
one.
the women who, all these, the liberal women who love Wolf because he wants to kill as many babies as possible with Planned Parenthood. Okay.
Well, I don't think he wants to do that.
No. Well, listen, he's.
And that was a lot of that's federal, and that's just horrible.
But he's a supporter of Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
Okay, this is what he has said. Okay?
Right.
So Planned Parenthood right now, as you know, 80% of they're aborting babies, which you know how I feel about that. So anybody who supports that, to me, I have a problem with. Diapers and daycare services taxed. Now these women who have babies and daycare, they have to pay more. Correct? Am I
correct?
Okay.
Correct.
College room
6.6%.
Yeah, college room and board and textbooks. All these young college guys who said, we got to vote for Wolf because he's the great guy.
Right.
6.6% taxed.
So it's really a tax throughout your life. It's like you get taxed when you're born as the diapers, you get taxed in college. So the government, and the thing is that we have been able to do more funding than ever before for education at the same time and not raise your taxes. So you want your government to be lean. We have your money, and you want us to be fiscal stewards, and that's what we've done going forward. So this is something that, and the people out there, when they call the office, they're just like, why don't you just pass the budget? And now especially that human services are going to get cut. Catholic social services, community services for sight for the blind, they're going to have trouble keeping their doors open, these places. Some of them are okay, they have reserve funds, but a lot of them at the end of August are not going to be able to provide services. So it's a huge problem. So hopefully we're on emergency call that I can get called back to Harrisburg to go vote once we reach a compromise. So we love to hear from you in my office. The governor, I'm sure, is taking calls so that you can let him know, please, let's get this budget done. Let's fund human services, disabilities, people that are needy, funding education. These schools need their money so that they can buy textbooks.
I want you to know that we did invite Tom Wolf on my show many times. Now, the interesting thing is he did a lot of advertising with us, which he knows we had the viewers and the voters,
Right.
and I appreciate that. I would love to meet the governor. I would love to interview him, and I would want him to tell me, Sammy, you're full of nonsense, and this is what I'm all about, okay?
Right.
I would love to do that. I'm giving him that opportunity. Like Corbett's been on my show a number of times, as you know, and I'd love to do that. But let's talk about, you remember he says, the gas companies are not paying their fair share, and we're going to tax them. What happened since, so what happened? With him even saying that?
Yeah, so it's very popular always to say, like two big campaign things is to say, the other side cut education, we're going to fund education and tax those corporations, tax. Well, these corporations, the Marcellus shale industry is a huge boon, a huge, wonderful asset to Pennsylvania. It's like we have gold beneath our feet. So you have to do it carefully. DEP works very hard to preserve our natural resources, and they've been doing a great job. And when you go up there and see these Marcellus shale, you see the rigs with the natural gas, it's done so well. Those companies, it really is, they have the least impact possible on our natural resources. So it's an industry. I mean, there's been natural gas drilling has been going on for over 65 years in Pennsylvania. We've been having that drilling. So we have the ability now to employ citizens. All these kids that are in school right now, they can go into the natural gas industry, and they would be able to have a career for 50 years. They could work for 50 years, high paying jobs, and they can provide natural gas to heat your home, lower rates than ever before, put natural gas in your vehicles so that we don't have to rely on foreign oil. We don't have to worry about Iran and Saudi Arabia. So there's so many good things that were happening right here in Pennsylvania, and especially in the last 4 years. So you have those companies, just so that I'm clear, when you see the rhetoric in those commercials, they don't tell you they're already paying 9.99% corporate net income tax. So all those natural gas companies, that natural gas is a tremendous resource, and it's something that we want to have access to for our cars, for our municipalities. They're already paying that high corporate net income tax. It's the highest in the country, 9.99%. They're paying that. And then on top of it, I worked and passed the impact fee, which was another 4%, even 4.5% tax. So natural gas companies are already paying the highest corporate net income tax. Billions of dollars coming into our economy here in Pennsylvania. They're paying that tax, and they're paying that impact fee tax.
How about the employees that they're employing and the taxes they're paying?
Right.
And the fact that they're buying product and stimulus. So
Yes.
what happened now when he made this announcement?
So now, as of November, those companies, they need stability. So they're looking at Ohio. They've already moved. Chevron has already moved.
Boom.
100 employees.
Boom.
Stopped hiring people immediately.
Right.
Stopped opening new wells.
There you go.
So you have a lot of people that were very upset. Say you had a well on your property up north.
Yeah.
Immediately, that retirement plan's
because
gone.
If you're not affected by it, you don't, tax them. Okay, sure, you're in Philadelphia, Allentown, it's like the anthracite coal,
Yeah.
which is, as you toured, as coal contractors doing, this coal is so valuable with the
Yes.
carbon, and it's providing thousands of jobs. So he just makes that announcement in November. The stability factor goes down the tubes.
Correct.
Because they're saying, hey, I'm out of here. So far, folks, we're losing. Okay, this is the great plan of Governor Wolf. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show. We are talking to Representative Tarah Toohil. Let me just say something, folks. I've never met Governor Wolf. I would love to meet him. I understand he is a very personal person, and he's a nice guy. But we're running the state of Pennsylvania, okay? So sometimes nice guys are one thing, but it's what he said, what he campaigned on, okay? The thing with Planned Parenthood is that he supports Planned Parenthood, okay? To me, he supports them. So that means that's a problem with me, okay? And because you see what's already happening. Now, we have 2 minutes left, Tarah. Give me a summary of what's happening so far with the budget.
So what we're doing is the Pennsylvania legislature, we've passed an on-time, no-tax budget. We're waiting right now currently to go back and vote as soon as the governor's letting us know that he's going to reach consensus and that we are going to be able to get all of these monies to go to human services. So foster care, Catholic social services, all of these line items. There were about 400 line items, and they didn't all have to get vetoed in that big package. So we have to go back now to the drawing board and bring up those items. And hopefully the governor's going to assign that funding, because we don't want to see an impasse like we had in 2009 over that was over gaming and an expansion of gaming. We don't want to go back there to those days, and there's no reason why school districts should have to deal with that, and human services, disabilities, senior citizens, any kind of monies that you're getting, they shouldn't have to deal with that, and we should have stability.
Tara, thanks for coming on the show. Now you
Thanks
said to me, I just thought of, you said where you park your car, you see the governor, right? He walks.
We do. We park next to each other.
Now
Yes.
you just tell him when you see him.
And he drives a Jeep, and I drive a Jeep.
Listen, when you see him, you tell him that we're on the Sam Lesante show.
Okay.
Sam was a little upset with you, and he'd love to have you come on his show to prove me wrong what I'm saying. Okay, I would love that. I want to give him his
I'll
justice.
come too. It'll be good.
I would love that. I really would. Okay, I know when I have you and John Udicek and Lou Barletta on the show, I'm getting facts. I'm not getting rhetoric, etc. And I love that. Tarah Toohil, 570-453-1344. Sam at ssptv.com. We'll see you next time.